Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When it comes to home and auto insurance, it's important to have the right coverage from a company and an agent you can trust. Someone who will help you properly protect the people and things you love most. So if the unexpected happens, you and your family can rest insured. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. We're recording podcasts left and right today, so it's a pretty fun day.
Yeah, and we have a really good one today. We get to meet a guy that is part of a farm market that's very known in Kentucky, so I'm excited to get to chat with him.
Yeah, it's so cool talking to the markets. We're getting to talk to a different generation in that market. This guy likes to stay at home and do the farming, so we've kind of snagged him on the phone and gotten to give him a chance to tell some of what he does. So I'm very excited for everybody to hear it.
Me too.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get into this thing. I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
And this is Between the Rows. All right. How's it going, Hilton?
It's going well. Really excited about today's conversation with Matt. So.
Yeah, and we're gonna give everybody a cue card here. You're gonna be Hilton today because we've got another Matt on the phone. We're really excited to have him today.
Yeah, Matt, how are you out there?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you all?
Doing real good. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Matt Dennison, down here in Forest Cave, Kentucky. My mom and dad have established our little market called Dennison's Roadside Market here in Hart County on 31E. And I'm the youngest of there's three of us. I'm the youngest, and I've kind of stayed back on the farm and helping everything operate. And we got a pretty diverse operation. Got a little roadside market that we mainly specialize in homegrown produce that we sell here to our little community, and we've got some beef cow operations as well, alfalfa hay, and we still grow tobacco. So we're one of the few in the county that still grow burley tobacco. So we've got a lot going on, a lot of work that definitely goes on in our little small area here in the world. So. But that's kind of a general idea of what we got going on down here.
Excellent.
Matt, that's awesome. Help us kind of understand. So you said that you're one of three kids. So is everybody involved in the farm, or you kind of all have your own sector? How does that kind of break out? Because it sounds like y'all are going a lot of directions, doing cattle, tobacco, alfalfa, and then you call it a little farm market. I think it might be a little bigger than that. But, how does that all split up with the family?
Yeah, so I'm 34. My older brother, there's 10 years between us, so he's 44, and then I have an older sister, and she is 45. She teaches school in Bowling Green. She doesn't really have much to do with the farm. And Brian used to run a FedEx route. He used to be work out of Bowling Green, and he had 3 FedEx routes. And I think it was in 2018 he come back to the farm. So that's when we tried to start expanding a little bit, because it's hard enough to survive on the farm with trying to do one family or even 2 families. But when you throw a third family in, you're going to have to come up with some more income to help provide for your family, because farming is not, a lot of times is not very financially benefiting. But we've tried to make it work with adding the cattle, and we do the strawberries in the spring, and it's just, we've tried to add to supplement being able to financially make it for both of our families.
Like Renee was saying, that the market's it's not a little market. It's a pretty known market, actually, and it's been around. Tell us a little bit of the backstory of how'd that market get going, and they popped up everywhere, but you guys really are a known market throughout the state. So tell us a little bit about the market and kind of how to get going.
Yeah, so I was 3 years old when it started. So, I've kind of just heard the stories of how it all kind of transpired. But So it actually started in 1992. I was 3 years old at the time. Um, my faint memories are running out here in our front yard at my mom's house when, it all started with just a couple of picnic tables and what we call sawhorses, sawhorses, and you set a piece of plywood on top of them. And that was kind of a table that we had. And
Mm-hmm.
we sold a lot of tomatoes, watermelons. I remember the yard being full of watermelons, and I was crawling all over them when I was little. And those just memories have kind of stuck with me. But I guess it all really started when Chris Clark was the county agent here, and I think that. And don't hold me to all this, but this is kind of the best that I remembered and how I've been told that UK was looking for some farmers to do like a little test plots of tomatoes, and Chris and my dad were pretty good friends. So Chris come to Dad and asked him, would you be interested in growing a small test plot of tomatoes for UK? Just trying to push the produce thing back in the '90s because it was kind of unheard of. There wasn't a lot of that growed back then. So they done that, and of course they had oolins of tomatoes. And there was a co-op in Russell Springs that they set up that they was taking all the number ones and selling them there. And so we're like, well, when they want a number one, they want the perfect flaw-free tomato, just the perfect one, no blemishes or nothing like that. So what are we going to do with all these tomatoes that don't make that grade? So they set up a couple tables in the yard and set up a sign and just kind of like you set up on the side of the road, and people just started buying stuff from us. And they started Mom and Dad started growing squash and cucumbers and tried to grow an assortment of stuff for people. That way we didn't just only have tomatoes. And just a couple years went by, and it kind of got overwhelming for them. They didn't ever expect the demand to be so high for people growing produce. And, it was getting so bad at like 6, 7 o'clock Sunday morning, people were rolling in, knocking on the door, wanting to buy stuff. And finally, my dad told my mom, he's like, look, we're either going to have to quit or we're going to have to expand. And so that's when they made the decision. I don't know if you've ever been to our place or not, but if you look at the structure of our building, it is an old tobacco barn that my dad just hung tobacco in for years. And they went over to this tobacco barn that's right beside the house here, and they built a shed on the side of it, and just an open gravel floor shed, had roll-up tarps on it. I mean, it was, nothing fancy, but business kind of exploded. And, we started ordering in produce from a lot of times we would go to Louisville to Stanley Brothers and the Horton Fruit Company, and I've made several trips up there, and riding in Dad's pickup truck and laying across the sea to sleep, and going up there to get produce or even sell produce up there. And over the years, it's kind of really grew into a little small empire here from what it started at to what it is. It's truly remarkable. I think we've got 7 greenhouses now. Mm-hmm. We've got a very large shop building that we grade our produce out of, and the market, we just continue to add to it, to where now one of our biggest issues is parking. We don't have enough room for parking. In the fall of the year when we have the hay rides or the pumpkin patch and that type stuff, there's cars lined up on the side of the road and parked out in the hay field, and just in my mom's yard, just wherever we can find a place to park people, we park them. But it's truly remarkable what it's become.
I feel like there's 4 or 5 different things in your story that I'd love to hone in on, but I'll start with one of the coolest ones to me. In a previous life, I worked at with the tobacco settlement funds at the Office of Ag Policy, and it seems like most of the stories we hear of people using old tobacco barns or diversifying are people that were doing it specifically because tobacco wasn't paying the bills anymore. So I think it's so neat to hear y'all's story where it was something so simple as just a test plot, and you guys are able to keep doing tobacco if you want to. Y'all are able to do that, but you found a way to retrofit a barn and do something different. So it's a little bit more of a positive spin to that story. I think that's really neat to hear. You guys utilizing some of that older stuff, but still doing the tradition of tobacco if you want to. That's just a really neat side that a lot of people don't, quite frankly, or sadly, don't get a chance to tell. So I think that's a really neat side to y'all's story.
Yeah, my dad is, I call him old school a lot of times, because I think there's like 3 of us left here in Hart County that still grow tobacco. And we grow, we grow quite a bit. We grow 160 or 170 acres. So, and, I didn't really touch on the wholesale side of the produce. So we've gotten to where we do a pretty large amount of wholesale and produce and pumpkins and that type of stuff. And the whole mindset behind the tobacco and the produce, the way everything kind of jives together is, in order to pick produce, you have to have labor. In order to house tobacco and hang tobacco and mess with anything in tobacco, you have to have labor.
For sure.
So that's where the basis of all that comes from. It kind of fits our operation. We start out early in the year. We'll plant the vegetables normally a little bit earlier than the tobacco. We'll start, depending on weather, mid-April. And then, of course, May, you jump into tobacco setting time. And then it just kind of flip-flops back and forth. We'll start in the produce in June, start harvesting some squash and stuff like that. And then July, of course, is wide open in produce, picking tomatoes, and watermelons is right behind that. And I think my earpieces, they are. Sorry about that. And then, tobacco from August all the way into the pumpkins and stuff for the hayride. So the labor has been a big player in everything that we do. It's just the driving force behind everything that we do. We try to add enough in order to keep our labor busy, because, if you don't have work for them, it's not financially feasible to have them guys if you don't have something that's creating income.
Right. So I've heard a lot of products. Is there something you are known for? What's the thing? Is there something in particular that people come in droves to come get? What is that? What that product or products?
I would say tomatoes and watermelons. It's probably the 2 things that people really know us by, as far as the produce is concerned.
Excellent. Yeah. Why do you think this has been successful? It came from humble beginnings, and what's some reasons you think it maybe worked so well? Is it location? Is it just you guys are involved in community? And what is it about this market that you think's really made it work?
I don't think location would have been my top answer. I mean, we're 20 minutes from the little town of Glasgow, and we're 30 to 40 minutes from Hodgenville. So we're kind of out in the middle of, we're kind of in a rural area. There's not a lot around us. Right. So I don't really understand why people come, unless it's just, we really do try to strive to provide really good quality, and, we try to treat people how we like to be treated. And, if there's an issue with something, we're going to make it right. We bought produce in before, and, we always cut or taste and test everything. And we bought bins of watermelons before, and I'm not going to sell them. It's, if they don't, we're not going to lie to people, if it's bad quality, and, we're going to take it and cut our losses and try next time. We try to strive on producing quality and providing our community with quality produce and customer service too. I've had people come and talk to us about growing strawberries, and like, and he may be 10 miles down the road, and he's probably going to be competing against me, but I'm not going to hold that against anybody. I mean, I'm going to tell them everything I do. I'm going to give them who I buy the plants from, and I'm going to help them any way we can, because that's the way we all need to be, is helpful and try to make the world a better place.
It's so interesting you say that. We were just in a conversation earlier talking about how the ag industry, I'm not saying we're not competitive. No, we're competitive people. But there's few industries that can take trips like we do and go to other farms, and farms, across the state, right across the state line, are willing to tell you why and how they were successful in
like business stuff.
I mean, true business ideas, and happy to see you succeed in that. And it's so funny you say that, because, I mean, we have our competitive times, but ag as a whole is so teamwork oriented. And I think that's one of my favorite parts, starting to get in with the farm market program. You guys see Fran McCall on our staff much more than you see me. But I love hearing about the other products. You guys support each other in your markets. And so help us with that part. So, you help the people down the road that are interested in, making what they purchase from you work, or doing something similar. But when it comes to the products themselves in the market, are you guys, selling some of those products that are coming out of other farm markets around Kentucky?
Oh, yes. Yes. My mom is the mastermind behind all of that, but she has a little, I don't know, she's brilliant at adding products that people want. And a lot of those products are Kentucky-made products, jams and jellies from Anna's Kitchens. We got Kenny's Farms House cheese, Legacy Dairy, milk, Cheney's ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
The list goes on and on. And she's great at getting out and getting those local products. And I think that's another reason that people really try to support us, is because we try to support local things. Anybody that has a product that we see that it could benefit our customers or help them move their product, it's a no-brainer for us to try to do all we can to help them and help us as well.
Well, that rolls me right into the next question I had, and I ask every market this I talk to. We all felt the boom after 2020, but you guys have been doing this, I mean, since probably before you can barely remember. I mean, you talked about how long y'all's market's been going. This local food movement, I would think y'all are saying it's here to stay. How do y'all feel about that? What is the local vibe when it comes to wanting to buy a product that is produced close to where these people live?
Yeah, the boom was definitely mind-blowing. We never dreamed that, this little market that we got would be so busy all the time. I mean, you have your busy spells, when watermelons come in, or Mother's Day coming up, like the flowers and stuff that's a big thing. But it's prolonged, and it's lasting the entire season now, and it's really, I mean, we're blessed by every means, but it's kind of mind blowing on the other end that we never expected. We never expected it to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It really is.
Do you think people? Yeah, I mean, is it? I was talking to this earlier. Is it your all's family and community a big part of the success? That localness, that name, the fact that they can talk to you, and you can't go to Kroger's and talk to the farmer that put that there. It's not that that's a bad place to get it, but do you think that's a little bit of it? As folks can actually see you coming out of the field with the actual product and ask you a question. Is that a part of that local movement you think that's really taken hold? And maybe that the pandemic was the reason some people kind of noticed that. That's interesting. I can actually get to talk to this farmer and get to know him.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. We've had a lot of people, even to this day still, we have some of our produce that you can see from the road. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of it that you can't. And, sometimes we'll come around the market with a wagon load of watermelons or a wagon load of tomatoes or, And then people are like, well, I didn't know y'all grew all that. I mean, it's still kind of, a lot of people just don't realize that we have the volume that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes a big difference is people, they see that stuff being grown out in the fields, and, you buy it, like you said, Kroger, Walmart. I mean, yeah, you may be getting it from a local farmer, but you may be getting it from another country as well. I mean, it's just kind of time bearing on that. But I think that people really, since the whole COVID thing, they think about where their food is going to come from. And, before people probably didn't really think about that. And like, oh, well, it's from the store. It is what it is. But, I think it has definitely made people try to be more aware of where their food comes from and how it's handled and how it's processed and all that type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we talk about, we keep referencing this program, but we're talking about the Certified Farm Market Program, and we have been blessed, whether it's been you or any of your siblings or your parents, you guys have been such an integral part of those, some of those charter members that are still in it. What do you feel like you gain from the program? What do you feel like your parents, even like when we're having these meetings or educational parts? I mean, you're still in it, so I assume you think it's worth it. What do you guys feel some of the benefits of that program?
Yeah, I was talking to Dad earlier. He said that they're a charter member. They started it the very first year that it came out, and produce back then, it was kind of a tough situation, and it still is, especially on the wholesale side of things. It's a little bit like the Wild Wild West. I mean, prices are all over the board. There's no safety net. I mean, you're kind of fending for yourself when you get into the wholesale produce world. And that program, I think, with the exposure that it puts out there for the local people trying to buy Kentucky grown, homegrown produce, the exposure that it puts out is just great. And that's why we continue to do the program. And my mom and dad, I know my dad especially, he loves to go on the roadside market tours, when he gets to go to different places and across the U.S. and tour other markets and see how ours compares. And then, there's a lot of stuff that they pick up at them places and bring it back home, and then we get to do it. So
lucky you.
Yeah. I've yet to had the opportunity to go on the program, the market tours yet, but Dad's he just turned 70, so he really enjoys it, and I want him to enjoy it as much as he can while he still is able and wants to get out and do it. And I feel like we'll get our opportunity sometime soon.
Well, good. Well, consider this a vote that we'll let you be a trade-in one of these days for your mom or dad. We'll let you come too.
Tag in and go one time.
That's right.
Well, I think what's neat, you've said it about, picking tomatoes the right way. Saying no to watermelon. Is that what certified means when you talk about a certified farm market? Is that to tell people out there that this market is good products? What does that word certified, when you see Certified Farm Market Program, what does that mean to you? And are you proud to have that sign on the side of your farm?
Yeah, that's definitely it. I mean, certified, that means that, if I see that, I feel like that market or that place is going to be completely honest with me, and they're going to do all they can to provide quality products. And if I have an issue, I feel like I could go to that market or owner or whatever and, talk it out and see if we can resolve something. And, we've had several instances where we had an instance here a couple of years ago where a guy bought some tomatoes and they were labeled wrong, and he had 40 hills of cherry tomatoes. So what we done is we said, well, a tomato plant will generally produce, 20 to 25 pounds of tomatoes. Take the amount of plants and times that by 20 pounds, and we'll give you that many tomatoes if that will work for you. We try to really cater to people like that, just little small things. Yeah, we probably lost a little money, but we're gaining a customer that's going to come back for hopefully years to come, not just one or two more times. And that's kind of the mindset that we have whenever we're dealing with the public. Them, if it's not for the customers, then it's not going to work for us. So we try to do all we can to make them happy.
Excellent.
Well, going off the market a little bit, but still raising a family on a farm, I'd be remiss if I didn't say every time I've talked to your parents, I've heard about their grandkids and how proud they are to have some kids on the farm and get to see their grandkids around it. How important is that to you, having generations on the farm? You just talked about your dad's age and how he's still able to go on these tours, but also be at the market and be on the farm and truly be working, which is such a blessing. How does that make you feel having multiple generations all out there?
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. I've got 3 girls. I've got a 6-year-old and I've got a set of twins that are 4. And seeing them out here, playing in the dirt and the mud like I did when I was their age on the same farm it's truly a humbling experience. I live in my grandmother's house, and it's just a couple 100 yards from my mom's house, so I haven't moved very far. My wife reminds me of that a lot. She said if it wasn't for her, that I would still be living with mom. So.
I love it.
but that's okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. But yeah, seeing them run around and run around the farm that I grew up on it's truly a humbling experience. I love it to death, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Raising kids up on the farm is there's just something about it. It's hard to even explain, but it's truly a great life to raise a family. It really is.
Yeah, I think
definitely.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I think the thing
it's definitely not the most financially at times, but that's money's not everything when it comes to that.
Well, and I think that when you go to a farm market and you meet the family and you see the grandkids and you see the generations, even if the tomatoes a little more expensive there, that's what customers. Mm-hmm. That's why they're coming to your place and not the larger chain grocery store. And I think that's what's cool about these stories, especially, farmers all over Kentucky, but of course the markets that are really exposing the public by telling folks to come to their farm. They're exposing their lives to these folks too. They're doing it right. We have family time right in front of everybody on Saturday with everybody coming to their place. So I think that's really neat. So those stories are why I think a big part of why these markets do so well is because they are usually owned by families and just people in community and everybody wants to support
authentic.
That. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Matt, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you today. It's the blessing and the curse of this podcast is we want to publicize you guys at a time of year when we can send people your way, but that also makes it very hard for you to snag 30 minutes out of your day to talk to us. So I just can't thank you enough. I do want to give you a chance, though. We're airing in June talking about this market. So we have this thing in podcast we're learning. It's called show notes. So what we're going to do in there is put a link to your all's market so people can see where you're at. If they're close or if they're far, they can take a drive and come visit you guys and get some of the products. But I want to give you a chance to tell everyone what's going on at the market on average in June. What kind of things can they purchase? What kind of things will they see? Just so they know what they're coming to look at.
Yeah, so in June, normally, that's a little bit early on tomatoes.
Right.
We normally have to shoot for the tomatoes around the 4th or between the 4th and the 10th of July. So squash, zucchini, a few cucumbers, candy onions is kind of a thing that we've really kicked off here the last few years. And if you don't know it, Kentucky can grow some really nice onions. We've been able to grow some awesome candy onions the last few years, and people really love those as well. But yeah, June's kind of that transition period to getting us ready to ramp up for the homegrown tomatoes. But and if we can cross our fingers, we might have some sweet corn late June. The last week or so.
Very good.
Well,
we've got some sweet corn. Some sweet corn is about 6 inches tall now. We planted it back in 3rd week of March. Oh, it was definitely pushing it.
Risky business. Well, consider our fingers crossed, man. I'm all about some sweet corn.
That's right. We've been fortunate so far, so we'll see what happens.
Well, good deal. Well, like I said, I don't want to hold you up anymore. We're so excited. You guys get to see, like I said, Fran McCall, who coordinates that program. We'll put a link to the Certified Farm Market Program as well in case anyone's interested in some of the work that our charter members, like your parents and you all, have helped direct us in with that program. So we'll link all that up. But I just want to say one more time, thank you so much. This has been really neat. We get to see a lot of the generations, but sometimes it's fun to get a chance to dig in a little more than just at a county meeting. So I can't thank you enough for being with us.
Yeah, thank you all so much. It's been a blast for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners, also for joining. Make sure to subscribe to our larger podcast, The Kentucky Farm Life, to catch our next episode. And we'll see you next time on Between the Rows.